In week 3 of our examination of Baron's emotional intelligence competencies, we're going to start looking at interpersonal relationships. Specifically, we'll be talking about the two areas of empathy and social responsibility. What does interpersonal mean? Merriam-Webster says it, or defines it as being, relating to, or involving relations between persons. An example of this would be, you will need good interpersonal skills to be a good manager. Interpersonal focuses on social awareness and interpersonal relationships. I use the title from Merton's book as an example of, or to emphasize what this means. No man is an island. Interpersonal, or social awareness and interpersonal relationships, is comprised of three components. The first is empathy. Empathy means to be aware of and understand how others feel, to be willing to celebrate when they celebrate, or to get down in the trenches when they're struggling. The second is social responsibility, to identify with one's social group and cooperate with others. It's the ability to work with others, work together, be part of a team or part of an organization. The last one, interpersonal relationship, will be covered next week. First, we're going to address empathy. Sean Murphy, in his blog titled Empathy and Good Managers, made the comment that traditional management focuses on drive for results at all costs. The profit motive is the bottom line that motivates everything that a business should do. Today, there's trends that indicate that personal and professional lives are colliding or coming together, and that people are interested in satisfying and balancing what goes on in their personal lives with what goes on in their professional lives. In other words, there's other motivators besides money. Empathy, for one. Brene Brown talks about empathy, and she says that empathy drives us to connect with others, to seek out companionship. And it's also acknowledging the importance of others' opinions and beliefs and feelings without judging them. Murphy made some interesting observations and discoveries about the empathetic manager. He found that empathy typically creates confidence in managers and management and in individuals, but it also focuses on the humanistic aspect of people. We're all human. We all have feelings. We have emotions. We're good. We're bad. We have a variety of characteristics. He was quoted as saying, empathetic managers disregard the traditional view of management, the profit motive, and want to relate with their employees and inspire them to be motivated. Murphy continued by looking at what drives the empathetic manager. He identified three key points. The first one had to do with connection. It was a need to bond, to feel a sense of belonging, of well-being, that I'm being cared for and looked out for. A sense of cooperation, that I am part of a team and a part of an organization that has a vision and a direction. That I'm seen in a positive social regard. I can be proud of what I do and not feel ashamed or embarrassed. Also a sense of fairness, that the things that are asked of me are fair in comparison to others. The second thing is service orientation. In this case, we have the managers trying to help the team members achieve their professional and personal goals. He's interested in what they're doing in their lives. In this case, he's also being a servant leader. He's out to help others, and that's a focus. Zig Ziglar was quoted once as saying, if I help enough other people get what they want, I can get what I want. Lastly, sense-making. Sense-making fuels the connection and service orientation in business, in an organization, and in management. In this case, the manager looks at what is or is not being said and what is or is not being done. He's looking between the lines. He's trying to understand and make sense of why people do what they do and why the organization runs the way it runs, and have understanding of that. Murphy concluded by saying, Making sense of the thoughts and intentions of others can be the difference between increased happiness and social connection or escalating loneliness and frustration. In his article titled, "Why Should Managers Be Social Responsible?" Antonio Argandoña investigates reasons managers put corporate social responsibility, or CSR, into practice. He identified some historical reasons: legal, ethical, social, and business cases. But he also identified something new, a new trend. Simply put, it's just good management. Argandoña broke down the arguments for social responsibility like this. He talked about the legal case. It wasn't a very strong one, as legal cases go, but it was that CSR is a voluntary practice and really beyond the law. It's a choice that organizations can make, but they're not obligated to do so. The social case is a social norm. It's a civic responsibility we have to contribute, hopefully in a positive way, to the society we're part of. The moral case, he says, is part of our duty for full disclosure or open disclosure and transparency. And we owe that to the community, again, if we claim to be part of that community. The business case is really the profit motive. Looking at social responsibility, usually or typically, it is a profitable decision, although there are costs associated with it. The thing he ranks as the most important, though, is the management case. This takes into account all of the reasons and that how each of these things contributes collectively to benefit a company and appeal to the many different members of an organization, so that everybody finds satisfaction in being part of something larger than themselves. Antonio Argandoña's conclusion was that the responsible manager focuses her interest in people, starting with the manager herself, which allows her to develop her operational and evaluative capabilities to improve the organization's core competencies and so contribute to long-term results. This is taking a look at the big picture, looking to improve or maintain an organization over the long term, focusing on what a manager needs to do to perform to a high level, develop procedures for doing that or direction and a plan, and then focus on how to strengthen the organization's core competencies and bring everybody along with that same direction. So what is the takeaway of having empathy and being socially responsible? How does it impact us in a management position? I identified it as this: we will no longer see ourselves as lone travelers in life's journey. Instead, we are part of a caravan of travelers making our way together, because together we are more likely to succeed. We can't just do it alone. As I started out saying, we're not islands. We need other people. That concludes my presentation on empathy and social responsibility as they relate to interpersonal social awareness and interpersonal relationships. Thank you for your time.